Good afternoon, everybody. It's H. Weber with you. Another edition of Weber This Week here on FingerLakes1.com. You know, I've done this show for about 6 years, and I got to be honest with you, I've always been inspired to do these programs, and some are special, some are more special, but today I think is really probably the best one that has really touched my heart. We've got some folks in talking about a brand new complex starting up in Waterloo on Main Street, 17 West Main Street, and it's going to be sometime in September, October. It's going to be called the Child Advocacy Center of the Finger Lakes, and certainly a location in Waterloo which will help. As we all know, our most important thing in life is to bring up children and to try to guide them through safety and to be sure that everybody is tip-top and nourished and everything else. And we're pleased to have the coordinator of the new one in Waterloo, and her name is Ashley Davoli. Ashley, thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me. And
of course, my friend Megan Peter, the Assistant District Attorney, who's been on the air with this show about a year ago with Mark Sankiewicz. Megan, thanks for coming in as well.
Thanks for having me.
And of course, my friend Sheriff Tim Luce is in the house to talk about his involvement and how he got started. And Tim, thanks a lot for coming in.
Thank you.
Well, you know, to start off the show, let's start off from ground one, go to the coordinator, Ashley. Ashley, I had a chance to go up on Friday. You and Megan were nice enough to entertain me, to show me a little tour. Tell us about yourself, your background, what you actually do, and how you started getting involved in bringing this to Waterloo, which is a great one.
Well, I'm trained as a mental health counselor, and I started out working with children who have been sexually abused. And from there, I transitioned into becoming what's called a forensic interviewer. And from there, my role has kind of evolved into several different hats. I wear lots of hats, but currently I am a per diem forensic interviewer with the Child Advocacy Center of the Finger Lakes. And I also work part-time as a child advocacy specialist, where I help with outreach, training professionals, and my most current project is coordinating the opening of the satellite site in Seneca County.
Now, without, certainly took it upon yourself, what made you think what made you go for the gusto, as we say in sports terminology, to come and think about putting one in Waterloo? What drove you to that? Need it in your mind?
Absolutely. I think that it's really important for us to remember that all of our children need us and everywhere. And we're currently in Ontario County and have been serving there since 2008. I'm native to Waterloo, so it's kind of been near and dear to me. And just seeing these cases and understanding how they work and the complexity of them, I finally had said, we need to serve more and we need to broaden our scope. And there's several counties that touch Ontario County that currently do not have child advocacy centers. So I just saw the importance, and what better place to start than a place that's near and dear to me. Well,
Sheriff, of course, I know you're always encouraged by the good things that happen in Seneca County. You and your team, John Clear, and all of the officers and all the fine folks that work for the Sheriff's Office, which do a great job for the county. Talk a little bit about how you got approached, how you got involved, and what your first thought process was.
When I first got involved at all with the Child Advocacy Center, I was invited to their grand opening in Geneva, which was, I got to get a tour and really get to an insight on what they do. And it was just when I started the Family Services Unit right after I got in office, so I thought it was when Ashley said they were looking for a satellite office in Seneca County, I thought it was a great deal. So,
yeah. Well, I think there's no doubt that it's a good thing, and I think certainly to approach and to make that, and I think you made a comment about the people that arranged the building originally spotted a building that could be used, and they offered some free rent for a period of time. I think that's something we should talk about, give some credit.
Yeah, when we talked about it, they said we had to find a site, and I actually ended up contacting Ernie Brownell, who's takes care of Lee Bieber's properties in Waterloo, and they came up with a site in Waterloo that was an attorney's office, and it was a perfect setup for us. And Lee Bieber was generous enough to offer us 6 months of free rent, and then we worked into a lease deal where the rent was very reasonable, and it's a great setup for us.
Well, thank you for that, and certainly this is Dog with you on a Monday. We welcome you to Weber This Week. We have a special show today, a topic that is dear to my heart and dear to my guest's heart, And many of you that are watching the show certainly would embrace the fact that it's the most valuable thing we as parents can do to keep our kids safe. And certainly my friend Megan can speak volumes on some of the things she has to get involved in with her job, which is not an easy job as an ADA, when there are allegations made of abuse, and her office and the police authorities, et cetera, determine that criminal liability can come to this, then her office would prosecute to the fullest extent. And before I get to Megan about her comments, I would certainly have the opportunity to say that I haven't been in court for a while because of my part-time job, but I've watched her stand up in court, Megan, speaking on behalf of people that have been abused, and the person that has been convicted and was about to be sentenced is to the left of Megan. And Megan, talk a little bit about the ability to first do that, because I know it's got to pull on your strings of emotion. And when the person that has been abused and has been convicted, it's got to make you feel good that you've got to speak for her. And I know you take that as a top priority.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the end of a very long process. And it's always an honor to be able to speak on behalf of victims who get to let the court know how a particular case or how a particular defendant has affected their lives. And really, that's the end road. Mm-hmm. And I'm always glad to be able to get there, but some of the best ways that we're able to get there is by using the multidisciplinary approach, which is what this new Child Advocacy Center will really help us do. So, Doug, as we were telling you before, the way things used to happen when a child would come forward with some information, or there would be an allegation of abuse, is that all these different people, people from Child Protective Services, people from law enforcement, people from my office, we would all need to speak to the child. And
right.
So the child would be interviewed by multiple different people. Sometimes, then a doctor would come in, sometimes a social worker. And so the child would be interviewed multiple times, which could be potentially more traumatizing for the child. So the new multidisciplinary approach, which the CAC is really focused on, basically enables all of these team players to come to one location,
right.
And so that we can all work together, and the child only has to be interviewed by one person, and that really helps my job in moving the case forward.
Well, one thing you pointed out too, we got Megan Peter in, Assistant District Attorney for Seneca County. Ashley Davoli, the Coordinator of Forensic Specialist, going to be handling that with her team at the new Child Advocacy Center to open in Waterloo on Main Street, 17 West Main, by the way. Megan sent me a text on the address, and our friend Sheriff Tim Luce is in. And Megan, on that point, when you gave me the tour along with Ashley the other day, you pointed out, which was important for me to understand, the bar is not low to get a conviction on that. Correct. So explain a little bit about the bar is high for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't think anybody in law enforcement wants someone to be wrongfully convicted. And so, the cases that we have to prove are beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the highest standard in our legal system. Mm-hmm. And so by being able to come together all at the beginning, we're able to look at the strength of our case. And, in addition to the disclosures that the child makes to the forensic interviewer, the police are there to be able to go out and try to corroborate that
right.
information, which really helps me.
It's got to be tough. And certainly, Ashley, we're going to take our commercial break early today, and then we'll come back and continue our discussion. But, Ashley, I think reading through the chart, and I know it's being posted by Jimmy as we go through the show, I think the fact that you're limiting the exposure of a child to come in and get talked to by 12 to 15 people before, and to do it with 3 now, and have a Megan or a Tim Luce or a John Clear or somebody from CPS to be in a room watching it take place. I can't get over the fact that as I was reviewing the information prior to my show today, I think that is phenomenal. It's really going to help. Would you expand on that a little bit? I think it's great.
I think that it's, Megan was talking a little bit about the importance of the prosecution of those cases, because ultimately that's going to help in keeping children safe, those particular children that come forward, and also future children that would have interaction with those individuals. But in doing that, we have to remember to keep that child the center of our focus, and remembering that although it's so important to get all that information, we need to do it in the most child-friendly and minimizing any sort of further trauma. Typically speaking, those children have already gone through so much trauma, and we don't want to be part of that to further that.
Well, we'll talk about, we can take a break now, come back, and we'll continue our dialogue. Very important topic, very special topic for me. And we'll continue that after we take our commercial break right now, and we'll come back and continue to talk to Megan Peter, Ashley Davoli, and Sheriff Tim Luce. Stay with us. Jimmy? Acting as a gateway to the Finger Lakes, Del Lago leverages the natural beauty and unique offerings while enhancing tourism in the region. The casino features 2,000 slot machines, 89 gaming tables, including 12 poker tables, portico by Fabio Viviani, a 2,400-person entertainment center, farmers market buffet. The hotel, spa, and banquet facility will open summer 2017. Cayuga Lake National Bank. Visit Bill Ryan and his team for all of your banking needs. Offices in Union Springs and Aurora, a fine sponsor of this show for over 30 years. DA Liquor on Bridge Street in Seneca Falls. Amy Padula and her team will find the right spirit for you every time. When you stop in, tell Amy the dog sent you. The Gold Hotel welcomes you to come out and enjoy the revitalization of this historic downtown Seneca Falls landmark. Every Wednesday is Ladies' Night with special price drinks and half-priced appetizers. Learn more at thegouldhotel.com. The Omen Theater on William Street in Lyons. See what's playing this week at omentheater.com. Located off New York State Thruway Exit 41, the McGee Diner has earned their reputation as a popular family restaurant, serving country fresh home-cooked meals daily. Stop in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and check out their menu at mcgeediner.com. Seneca Metals is an award-winning company that has earned a reputation of going above and beyond to protect the environment and support their community. As an EPA inspector once said, their operation is head and shoulders above the rest. And the Newark Pilots of the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, a minor league team with a major league ballpark. Season ticket packages available at newarkpilots.com. And the Wilson Press in Seneca Falls. My good pal Rich Rickey and his team can handle all of your printing and mailing needs. Visit them online at wpress.com. Cicino's Live, Laugh, Eat Well. It's the Italian way. It's also the Cicino's way. Visit one of their 3 locations, Waterloo, Geneva, and now at Del Lago Resort and Casino. Order online for pickup or delivery at cicinos.com. Yes. Welcome back, everybody. It's a dog with you on a Monday. Hope you're having a good one. It's July 24th. Welcome to Weber This Week. We have been talking, and we're going to continue our dialogue with the coordinator of the new Child Advocacy Center up in West Main Street in Waterloo, to open up soon, sometime maybe September, October. And Megan Peter, Assistant District Attorney, who's been on these airways last year with Mark Sankiewicz. Always good to have Megan in. And my friend Sheriff Tim Luce. By the way, before we go back to our dialogue, a reminder, Seneca Metals having open house coming up this coming Sunday, July 30th from noon to 4 o'clock. They're going to have a barbecue. You're going to be able to name 4 baby falcons. That's exciting, so get a part of it if you want to check it out. It's noontime to 4 this coming Sunday at Seneca Metals. And check it out, one of our fine sponsors of the show. Let's go back to the Sheriff for a second. Sheriff, I know you're involved in obviously fighting crime, and your guys and your team and ladies do a great job with that. I would think my personal view is anytime an allegation is made of abuse, that has to hit home with you, and I know you are trying to do your best and will do your best to get the information and to be sure, as Megan pointed out, it can be corroborated, correct? To make sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then that was my big reason I started the Family Services Unit, and it was, to get some special training for those people. I believe you have to be trained in certain areas. That makes you good. And that's what we're really striving to do. And then when the CAC came about, I just thought that's a great addition, and it's a great addition to the other law enforcement in this county, and it's a great program.
And I think Megan and myself, along with Ashley, talked about it. The worst thing that I can think of, Ashley, and then we'll get Megan's comment, is to be accused of that, of abusing a child, and not have it happen, and it really wasn't that done. So that has got to be a stigma on the person that has been accused falsely. That's got to be an issue as well.
Absolutely, and it's really important when these cases come in to take that into account when we're interviewing a child. And when you're trained as a forensic interviewer, one of the things that you are trained is to explore alternative hypothesis. Could this be a misunderstanding? Could this be that the child was coached? There's a lot of things that come into play with that, and it's really important to have somebody who's trained and regularly talking to children to try to pick up on those things, because it's important for us to make sure we're prosecuting someone that has indeed committed a crime.
And Megan, of course, you being in the other room behind a TV screen that they don't know you're watching, along with the police authority and the CPS person, you can pick up as well, taking notes of what's taking place too.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Ashley wholeheartedly that it's really important that you have a trained forensic interviewer who knows how to move through topics with a child to, like she said, explore alternative hypotheses. Mm-hmm. And so, we are in a separate room, although that's not hidden from the child.
Right.
They know that Ashley's working with other people. And that allows us, if we pick up on something, or if we'd like the forensic interviewer to ask other questions, it allows both myself or law enforcement or CPS to communicate with the forensic interviewer and say, hey, could you ask some more questions about this, or could you go into more detail about that? And that really helps all of us because we have different roles, right? Law enforcement and I are typically thinking about making the arrest and going to court, whereas Child Protective is thinking, is the child in immediate danger? What do I need to do, in order to keep the child safe right now? So having all of us come to that one location and having the child be interviewed by one person, but still allowing all of our different voices to be heard, really helps us with all of those things.
And I think it's important, too, to talk about, you're not there, Ashley, and your team is not going to be there 24 hours a day. However, if something were to be happening in the world, in the area of abuse, you call 911 and start that process. And then either it's going to be Sheriff Luce and his team or another police authority would get involved in determining if they need CPS involved to get that taken care of immediately, if it's an issue, correct?
Absolutely. And it's important, too. The Child Advocacy Center of the Finger Lakes is a location. It's a child-friendly location where we can bring children, and then the multidisciplinary team, can come to that child. So it might not be, all of us in this room. It could be many other people that are part of that multidisciplinary team, and we meet monthly to review these cases to make sure that we're all kind of doing the same thing and working together. And it just helps open that line of communication, but also while keeping the children in the center and saying, what can we do that's in the best interest of children?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think the other great thing about the center, too, is it's a place where, any of the non-offending family members and other children of the family, that they all get to be in a safe place, too, while this is all going on. So it provides a really supportive place for families while they're going through this, because it can be very traumatic, as the sheriff well knows.
Well, I used the scenario to Ashley and to Megan the other day, and I'll throw it out again to see how you would react to it. Whereas a young child lives in a home with just his father and goes and visits his uncle and tells his uncle in certain terms that a child can express that he was abused or being abused, or daddy's doing things that seem improper by the uncle understanding. So I asked Megan and Ashley, in that situation, the father is a single parent. the child is with the uncle, the alarm goes off in the uncle's brain thinking there's something going on here. So he may call 911 or try to get hold of CPS. Is there a case, or is there the background? What would happen if the father said he shouldn't be going to the authorities, or would that work? You know what I'm saying, as far as the father denying that access to go to an authority of that nature?
We have many people that call in complaints to CPS that aren't
Right.
even, they're anonymous.
Okay.
And I think it's our job as
Right.
police officers and through the CAC to
Right.
weed through that and make sure it's a viable case or it's
Right.
not a viable case. I mean, and that's what's great about the CAC too, I think, because
Right.
they're doing it under applied science and everything, and they're separate.
Right.
They're not a police officer, which makes it even better because they have nothing invested except for the right of the child, and they can let us know exactly what happened, and that's on their part. Is it the honesty and the upfrontness of the CAC? I think is the best part of it.
Ashley Davoli's here. She is the coordinator or the forensic person involved in a new child advocacy center in Waterloo, opening up September, October. She'll let us know with the ribbon cutting ceremony, and hope to be there. And we're going to have them back. We're going to have them all back again after it opens to get some updated details. Now, Ashley, I had a chance to walk down the hall of your new facility, and you were showing me some stuff along with Megan. Explain to our viewers exactly how that's going to work. What kind of people are you going to have day to day there as far as titles and what their job responsibilities will be, or volunteer work will be?
Absolutely. So when a report is made, that will trigger the multidisciplinary team to become involved. And we all work together in tandem, and we'll get a copy of the report, or we'll figure out what's going on. And the professionals will kind of figure out outside of the Child Advocacy Center of what's going on and what's happening. When the family is invited, the children will come to the Child Advocacy Center. An advocacy specialist will sit with the family in the waiting area. It could be a parent, it could be a guardian, it could be, a child who was recently removed from a home and is now in foster care. But that person will have somebody who understands what's happening, because it can be a very scary process,
Right.
and it can be very nerve-wracking to a lot of people. And so that person will sit with them while the multidisciplinary team will be in the back of the building. There's an interview room where children will go, and it's very child-friendly, a neutral location where they will meet just with the forensic interviewer. That forensic interviewer can be someone who's trained specifically just in forensic interviewing, but it's also important for us to understand that sometimes forensic interviewers are law enforcement. Sometimes forensic interviewers are child protective workers. So they're not always separate. Sometimes they are together, but research has shown that bringing a child to a neutral location and a child-friendly location is better for the child, rather than going and interviewing them in their home or interviewing them at a police station or bringing them to CPS.
Intimidation. Those are intimidating factors.
It can
bringing
be.
them to some of their operations. And Megan, you talked about it the other day relative to you want to make the person coming in, the child, and obviously the parent, as comfortable as possible, knowing that there's a process involved and that you're going to walk them through it, or the team's going to walk them through it, and there's not going to be any scary tactics about this. You want to get to as you mentioned, using a court term, the whole truth, and find out what's going on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important to have that supportive environment, especially when a parent or guardian, if they find out that something's going on, they're scared too.
Sure.
They don't know how this process works. So to have an advocate there who can really tell them, okay, this is what the likely next steps are going to be, or this is, how we can try to get you to a safe place, or, we can help you file an order of protection or something like that. It brings all of those services to one place for the family and really helps guide the parents, the whole family into how this is going to look going forward. So.
And by the way, some good news. You got a couple of grants you were talking about. Talk a little bit about that. How long did it take you to do the paperwork, et cetera, and how long did it take to get an answer?
Well, I can definitely not take the credit for doing the grants because I'm
right.
so busy with coordinating everything. But our director recently applied for some grants. They came up kind of quickly, and she had a very short period of time to apply for them. And we recently found out that we were granted 2 grants, one to help provide for forensic interviewing in Ontario, Seneca, and one other county that we're going to potentially be looking into opening another satellite site through our organization. And then the other grant is to allow for some funding to sustain these sites. So one of our biggest things when we first started, the ball got rolling very quickly. We all were kind of like, okay, this is happening very fast. All the law enforcement organizations, we have support and we have like the backing from every law enforcement organization in Seneca County, the district attorney's office, advocacy organizations, some mental health providers. We all kind of came together as a committee and said, how can we make this work? And one of our biggest fears was, how are we going to sustain this? We were able to figure out, like, how are we going to get it open, like those logistics, but how are we going to be able to sustain something like this over a long period of time? And fortunately, for the grant that we just got is going to allow us for the next 5 years to be in a safe place, and that just gives us more opportunity to do more fundraising and really get the awareness out there for the community.
Let's talk about fundraising. I see on one of the pamphlets you gave me, you're looking for volunteers that have certain skill sets that could probably help that center.
Absolutely. So currently, right now, we just started what we call the Outreach Committee. And the Outreach Committee is anybody who is willing to volunteer. Some of those volunteers help us at festivals. There's only 3 of us currently on staff with the Child Advocacy Center. So with having multiple sites, it's challenging for us to kind of wear all those hats. So we sometimes need help with these festivals, doing trainings and education, training professionals and educating the community. And part of the child abuse prevention piece is huge. And we could certainly use people to help us, move forward with more of those tasks. And then in terms of fundraising, we can certainly use monetary donations.
Right.
We can use donations of goods to help initially with the startup, but ongoing, helping sustain toys for the children while they're at the center, snacks and food. We always want to make sure that they have that stuff, because sometimes children come to us and it's not the most ideal time. It might be dinner time or something going on. We just want to make sure that we have the things that they might need while they're there.
Yeah, and now if somebody wants to write a check and donate some money, how would they go about doing that?
They can certainly just write a check to the Child Advocacy Center of the Finger Lakes, and they can mail it to us at our new location or 482 North Main Street in Canandaigua. We also have established a campaign website, and that can be found by going to our website, which is cacfingerlakes.org. And if they just find the logo that says Stand Up for Children, those funds will specifically go to help with funding the Seneca County campaign.
Well, Sheriff, I know you've been in this law enforcement business a long time, and I know that you've had some probably good days, some bad days, day to day, but it's something that you see a lot in periodicals, and it's with these fine folks coming to Waterloo and helping out along with yourself and a whole bunch of other people. I think it's only got to be a positive thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I've pushed since I took office for DARE and the school resource officer, and now this, and it's all been about the children. And I know it's a cliche, but the children are our future, and
they are.
And we really got to educate them and treat them right. And I mean, someday they'll be taking care of us. So. That's
right. Yeah. Hey, in my case, sooner than later. Just kidding. But throw that out there for what it's worth. But as we are going to spend a couple extra minutes on the show this afternoon talking about. But Megan, I know that you're very actively involved in good causes and do good things for people, and I know, obviously, you have a full load of work. I'm sure as an ADA, I've been in your office a couple times. The piles are pretty high with paperwork, but it's got to be something special for you as well to know that, you're wearing a hat as an ADA and you're prosecuting people, and that's what you do. But I know it's got to make you feel good to know that this is coming on board and that you can be as limited time as you probably will have based on your busy schedule, but as much time as you can, I know you'll be there to help out, and I think that's something you're really looking forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Any cases that involve children are definitely near and dear to my heart, and they take a lot out of you, mentally and emotionally. So having a new center like this is definitely, and the support of all of the team members, I think is really going to help me in my job, and I think help the children of Seneca County.
I said we were going to tap on the donations and also how you can help, and we're going to go back to Ashley to repeat what you just said a few minutes ago in case somebody just tuned in. So if you want to help out the new Child Advocacy Center in West Main Street in Waterloo, 17 West Main Street in Waterloo, how can they help?
Well, if they'd like to give monetary donations, they can write a check out to the Child Advocacy Center of the Finger Lakes, and they can mail it to the new location, 17 West Main Street in Waterloo, or our main location, which is 482 North Main Street in Canandaigua. And we also have on our website, cacfingerlakes.org, there is the Seneca County campaign. Just look for the Stand Up for Children link on there, and that will link them directly to the campaign website specifically for Seneca County, and they can make donations online.
Now, if somebody that owns a grocery store wants to donate crackers, etc., chips and so forth, is that something as well that you could use?
Absolutely, and we're actually going to, we've had a lot of people request, like, what sort of things can we give outside of monetary donations, and we absolutely can use things, especially with our center not being quite open. We're still in the renovation phase of getting everything up and running. We're going to develop a list. We already have a list, but we're going to publish the list on our website as well, so they can go on to that same link and open up the Seneca County campaign and see a list of things, but snacks and things, toys for children, toiletries. A lot of times families do have difficulties, and even though we're in Waterloo, so it's more central for Seneca County, there are some families that live away from Waterloo, especially we work closely with Seneca Falls Police Department. They sometimes bring cases too. And if they're farther away, sometimes gas cards are helpful for the family to try to help the family we want to minimize the family's stress and those things that are going on, because this is difficult.
And I think, Sheriff, and I think, Megan, the word stress is the key word here. There is a lot of stress when you undergo something like this. And the new approach, getting away from having 15 people talk to a child versus 3 now, is phenomenal. It'll give the opportunity for the police authorities, the ADA or the district attorney's office, CPS, and a whole lot of people to make that visit much smoother, maybe not much quicker, but they're still going to go through the process, but at least you won't be talking to so many different people. And I got to admit, I love the chart, because the chart shows the young child is being demonstrated or shown on the thing said, getting exhausted about talking to so many people. I got to talk to other people, and I think that's important. Don't you agree, Sheriff? Got to just make it smooth and transitional.
Absolutely. I mean, these cases are hard enough as they are. They're hard enough for the people who investigate, the ones who do the interviews. I mean, it's heartbreaking at sometimes, and some of the successes you have are great, but they're still heartbreaking. And minimizing that the child to have to go through it a million times is huge, and then they're prepared in case they have to go to trial. I mean, and testify, and sometimes they do, which is really hard too. And if they've already told the story 15 times, then they have to show up in court. That just makes it all the harder for Megan and the other people to try to get them ready. It's terrible.
Well, I've been doing Weber This Week, and before that, decades of radio work, and I get touched by certain things, and this one has really touched my heart, because I really truly believe that I've been blessed to have a great child, and I've been blessed to have a great grandchild and a great wife. But this has touched me in a way that I think what they're doing and what's happening with all the work that's being done is going to be sensational. It's going to be a lot streamlined versus the old method. And I think Jimmy and myself, I've done this show. We got a bunch of sponsors that pay to broadcast their ads on this show. But if you want to get us a logo, we'll be more than glad to have you spotlighted on my show. It won't cost you a nickel, and I'm sure Jimmy wouldn't have a problem. We'll just run it through and point out the continuation every time I do a show. When we stroll through the commercials, you can put your logo up there whenever that is, and I'll just make a few comments about it, and won't cost you a dime.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
It'd be great to have you on, and I think it's something that's so important, and I think Jim would agree with me being a dad. I think it's important that we do this, and I think it's important that we send a message that, we all care, and God, who's more important than your child, I mean, I can't fathom it, so I certainly would like you to do that when you get up and running. It's no big rush, but we'll put you on the stroll of our commercial breaks during this show, and who knows? We may get somebody to see it and spotlight and give you a call and maybe get something to you. All right, so again, we appreciate you guys spending some time with us. We went a few minutes late, which we normally not do, so that's how special the show is. So, Megan, Peter, I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Ashley, thank you very much.
Thank you again.
And Sheriff, thank you very much for coming
Thank
in.
you.
All right, now next week we have another special show. We got back-to-back specials. We have a young man named Frank Eldridge Sr., who's well known throughout the Finger Lakes. If you want to hear jokes, right, Megan? He's funny.
That's right.
Yeah, Frank is funny. But he's one of my best friends, and he's had the dubious distinction of being, if not the only one, Sheriff, the only one in the state of New York to take on the DARE program, develop a program, outline a program via computer, go to Romulus, where he's a school resource officer, present that program. He's had national attention for his work, and just a quick word about Frank, Sheriff.
Frank's done a great job. We put him in as an SRO, and then we sent him to DARE school, and he took off with it. I mean, he's done a great job.
Yeah.
They had their national convention in Dallas. He was invited down there. He couldn't make it because of surgery, but he was going to be the keynote speaker
Pretty amazing.
for the first one in New York State to electronically teach DARE in New York State.
So he'll be here live. My best friend will be on the chair, not on the couch, on the chair. We'll talk about his accomplishments and what he did, and he's sort of a shy and bashful guy, so I'm sure he'll have a hard time saying anything. I'm sure he won't. So once again, thank you very much for joining us on Weber This Week. We'll catch you next week. Thanks to Megan Peter, along with Ashley Davoli and Sheriff Tim Luce. Until next week, folks, take care, everybody.